Captain Velnara pressed her silver hand against the cracked wall of her ship. The beautiful crystal walls that once glowed with soft blue light now flickered and sparked. Green smoke filled the air, making her large amber eyes water. Her crew was dying. The Kalahari ship Luminous Dawn had been exploring the empty space beyond the known galaxy when the accident happened. A small rock moving too fast had hit their main power core. Now the ship leaked air and poison into space. The gentle healing machines that kept her people alive were broken. Velnara looked at her science team. They lay on the soft grass floor of the ship's garden, breathing slowly and getting weaker. The Kelhari were a peaceful people. They had never built weapons or armor. Their ships were made for beauty and learning, not for surviving damage. "Captain," whispered Lithara, her chief scientist. Her voice was weak. "The emergency beacon, it only reaches our home worlds. They are too far away. No one will come in time." Velnara felt her heart break. In a few hours, all 23 members of her crew would be dead. The poison gas would kill them slowly. She touched the smooth control panel with shaking fingers. Then she remembered something. The old star charts had warnings about a region of space far from here. The charts called it Deathworld territory and told all ships to stay away. Stories said that somewhere in that darkness lived a species so violent and dangerous that they had destroyed their own planet many times. Most Kelhari thought it was just a scary story. But Velnara had studied the old prophecies. They spoke of warriors from a world of endless war, a species that knew only fighting and death. The prophecies said these beings would either save the galaxy or destroy it. "Lithara," she said quietly, "can you boost our emergency signal? Make it reach the Deathworld region?" Her scientist's eyes went wide with fear. "Captain, no. The stories. Say those beings eat other species. They kill for fun. If they exist at all, they will only bring us death faster." Velnara looked at her dying crew. "We are already dying. At least this way someone might learn what happened to us." With weak hands, Lithara worked the controls. The ship's emergency beacon changed direction. Instead of calling to the peaceful worlds of the Kelhari Union, it now screamed into the dark space where monsters might live. Far away, in a different part of the galaxy, Hyunwoo Park sat at his desk in the Earth Defense Fleet Communications Center. He was drinking his third cup of coffee and watching the quiet screens that showed empty space around Earth's solar system. The coffee was bitter, but it kept him awake during the long night shift. Earth's military never slept, even though humans had been traveling between stars for 50 years. They still remembered the wars on their home planet. They still prepared for enemies that might come from anywhere. The alarm made Hyunwoo jump. Coffee spilled on his uniform as he turned to look at the screen. A signal was coming from far outside human space. It was weak but clear. Someone was asking for help. He pressed the emergency button. All across the Earth Defense Fleet headquarters, lights flashed red. Admiral Bo-Ram Kim was in her office in 5 minutes. "What do we have?" she asked. Admiral Kim was a small woman, but her voice carried the weight of command. She had fought in 3 wars and never lost a battle. "Unknown signal from Sector 77 Alpha," Hyunwoo reported. "It's a distress call. Life support failing. 23 beings requesting immediate help." Admiral Kim studied the star charts. The signal came from very far away, past the edge of what humans had explored. It would take their fastest ships 6 hours to reach that location. "Could be a trap," said Captain Dongmin Lee, who had just arrived. He commanded the heavy cruiser Soul's Fury, one of Earth's most powerful warships. Unknown aliens, unknown technology. They could be trying to lure our ships into an ambush. Admiral Kim nodded. This was always the question. Humans had met 3 other species in their travels among the stars. 2 had been friendly. 1 had tried to destroy Earth. Every first contact was dangerous, but Admiral Kim had read the old human stories about people who went to sea. When someone called for help on the ocean, you answered, even if it was dangerous, even if it might be an enemy. That was what separated humans from animals. "Captain Lee," she said, "take Task Force 7. 3 destroyers, 2 medical ships, and your cruiser. Go fast. If it's a trap, fight your way out. If it's real, save whoever you can." Captain Dong-min smiled. This was why he served in the Earth Defense Fleet. When people called for help, humans answered. It did not matter if they were human or alien. It did not matter if it was dangerous. "Yes, Admiral. We'll be ready to jump in 20 minutes. As Captain Dong-min left to prepare his ships, Admiral Kim stared at the star charts. Somewhere out there, people were dying. Maybe they were monsters. Maybe they were angels. It did not matter. The distress call had reached Earth, and Earth would answer. On the Kelhari ship, Velnara felt the life leaving her body. The poison was winning. Around her, half of her crew had already stopped breathing. Soon, the beautiful ship would be a tomb floating in space. Then Lith-Ara grabbed her arm. "Captain," she whispered, "something is coming. The sensors show ships, big ships, moving very fast." Velnara's dying hope flickered back to life. Someone had heard their call. Someone was coming. She only hoped they would arrive before the last of her people died in the dark. In space, 6 human warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel. They were black and angular, built for war. Their hulls were scarred from many battles. Inside them, human crews prepared for whatever they might find. Captain Dong-min stood on the bridge of his ship, looking at the damaged alien vessel on his screen. It was like nothing he had ever seen. Beautiful and delicate, made of crystal and light. It looked like a work of art, not a spaceship. "This is Captain Lee of the Earth ship Soul's Fury," he broadcast on all frequencies. "We received your distress call. We are here to help." The answer came back in a voice like singing. "Wind. Please," it said in broken human words. "We are dying. Help us." Captain Dong-min Lee stared at his main screen in shock. The alien ship was beautiful beyond anything humans had ever built. It looked like it was made of living crystal, glowing with soft blue light. But it was broken. Cracks ran along its hull, and green gas leaked into space. "Sir," said Commander Tae-hee Choi from the destroyer Busan Lightning. Her voice came through the communication system with worry. "We have 6 more ships approaching. They don't look friendly." Dong-min turned to look at another screen. 6 dark ships were moving toward the damaged alien vessel. These ships looked like weapons. They had sharp edges and red markings. They moved like hunting animals. "Unknown vessels," Dong-min broadcast on all channels. "This is Captain Lee of the Earth Defense Fleet. We are responding to a distress call. State your intentions." The answer came in a voice like grinding metal. "Soft mammals from the mythical Death World. How amusing. I am War Leader Theshkar of the Vorthak Empire. You will leave now. We have claimed this vessel and its cargo." Dong-min felt his anger rise. The translator told him these Vorthak were talking about the dying aliens like they were things to be taken. War Leader Theshkar, we received a distress call from this vessel. We are here to provide medical aid. We will not leave while people are dying. Theshkar's laugh sounded like breaking glass. People! These weak herbivores are not people. They are prey. Their ship contains valuable technology. By the laws of space, it belongs to whoever is strong enough to take it. On the bridge of his ship, Dongmin looked at his crew. They were all humans from Earth. They had grown up on a world where the weather could kill you, where animals hunted humans, where survival meant fighting every day. The idea of letting people die while arguing about laws made them angry. Medical. Officer Yang, Dongmin called to his chief doctor. Prepare to board the alien vessel. Take a full medical team and everything we need to save lives. Soon-Ja Yang nodded. She was already putting on her spacesuit. Dr. Yang had saved human lives in 3 wars. She did not care if these aliens were different. Dying was dying, and she knew how to stop it. Sir, said Lieutenant Chan Woo-Jon, the leader of the ship's Marines. The Vorthak are moving closer. Their weapons are charging. Dongmin made his decision. All ships, battle stations, prepare for combat. We will not leave these people to die. War leader Theshkar could not believe what he was hearing. These strange mammals were challenging the Vorthak Empire. His species had conquered 12 worlds. They had never met anyone who would not run away when faced with Vorthak power. You dare threaten us? He snarled. We will teach you the price of defying the strong. All ships, attack these foolish mammals. Show them why the Vorthak rule this sector. The 6 Vorthak warships opened fire. Bright red energy beams cut through space toward the human ships. Theshkar expected to see the mammals' ships explode like all the others. Instead, the human ships moved. They moved faster than anything Theshkar had ever seen. The energy beams missed their targets as the Earth ships twisted and turned through space like living things. Impossible, whispered Theshkar. No ship can move like that. The crew should be dead from the spinning forces. But humans were not like other species. They had evolved on a world where fast movement meant life or death. Their bodies could handle forces that would kill most aliens. Their ships were built to move the way humans moved, quick, violent, and deadly. The human ships fired back, but they did not use energy weapons like civilized species. They fired solid metal slugs accelerated to incredible speed. The kinetic rounds hit the Vorthak ships like hammers. Commander Tae-hee Choi smiled as her destroyer's guns found their target. The Vorthak ship's shields flashed and failed. Holes appeared in its hull. Target hit. Vorthak ship number 3 is losing atmosphere. While the space battle raged around them, Dr. Yang and her medical team reached the alien ship. They cut through the damaged hull with plasma torches and entered the vessel. The inside of the ship took Yang's breath away. It was like being inside a living garden. Soft grass covered the floors. Trees grew from the walls. Water flowed in streams through the air. It was the most beautiful thing she had ever seen. But the aliens were dying. They lay scattered across the grass, their silver skin turning gray. Green gas filled the air, and Yang's instruments showed it was poison to their biology. Chan Woo, she called to the Marine lieutenant, set up the emergency medical station in this garden area. We need to get these people breathing clean air. Lieutenant, John and his Marines worked fast. They set up force fields to block the poison gas. They brought in human air recyclers and medical equipment. It was rough and ugly compared to the beautiful alien ship, but it worked. Dr. Yang knelt beside the alien captain. The being's amber eyes were closing. Can you understand me? Yang asked. The alien woman opened her eyes. You came. The Deathworld warriors. The prophecy said you would either save us or destroy us. Today we save, Yang said simply. She pressed a breathing mask over the alien's face. The mask fed her clean oxygen mixed with medicines to fight the poison. Around them, the space battle continued. The Vorthak ships were bigger and had stronger weapons, but they moved like slow, clumsy beasts compared to the human ships. Captain Dongmin's task force danced around them, hitting and running, never staying in one place long enough to be caught. War leader, called one of Theshkar's officers. These mammals fight like nothing we have ever seen. Their ships should not be able to move so fast. Their crews should be unconscious or dead. Theshkar watched another of his ships take damage. The humans fought with no honor. They did not stand and trade shots like civilized species. They moved like predators, striking from unexpected angles and disappearing before return fire could. Hit them! What manner of beings are these? He growled. On the alien ship, Dr. Yang worked to save the dying crew. She had never seen this type of alien before, but biology was biology. She could see that the poison was attacking their blood, stopping it from carrying oxygen. She had medicines that could help. Captain, one of the aliens whispered. It was the scientist who had sent the distress call. We are Kelhari. We thought your species was a myth. The violent ones from the world of eternal war. Yang looked up from her work. We're from Earth. And yes, it's a pretty violent place. But we learned that sometimes you have to fight to protect the things that matter. She injected the alien with human medicine, adjusted for alien biology. It was dangerous. The medicine might kill instead of heal, but doing nothing would definitely kill. The alien's color began to return. The gray faded from her silver skin. It works, she whispered. The Deathworld medicine works. Around the ship, Yang's medical team worked to save every life they could. They used human technology in ways it was never designed for. They took risks that would terrify other species. But that was what humans did. When someone was dying, you tried everything. In space, the battle was turning. 3 Vorthak ships were dead or dying. The others were pulling back, unable to match the speed and aggression of the human fleet. This is not over, mammals, War Leader Theshkar transmitted as his ships retreated. The Vorthak Empire will remember this insult. We will return with more ships. Captain Dongmin watched the enemy ships disappear into faster-than-light travel. Let them come, he said quietly. Earth will be ready. On the alien ship, the last of the Kelhari crew opened their eyes and breathed clean air. Dr. Yang sat back, exhausted but smiling. 23 aliens had been dying when she arrived. 23 aliens were now alive. Thank you, whispered Captain Velnara. You saved us all, but why? We are strangers. We could have been your enemies. Dr. Yang cleaned her medical tools. Someone called for help. We came. That's what we do. Dr. Sunja Yang watched the alien captain try to sit up. The Kelhari woman moved slowly, like someone learning to walk again. The human medicines had saved her life, but she was still weak. Please, do not move yet, Yang said gently. Your body needs time to heal from the poison. Captain Velnara stared at the human doctor with her large amber eyes. But you are forcing my body to live. This is not natural. In our culture, if someone is meant to die, we let them go peacefully. Yang frowned. She had never heard of such a thing. You just let people die, even when you can save them? We believe that fighting death brings only pain, Velnara explained. When our time comes, we accept it with grace. But you forced life back into my body. You made my heart beat when it wanted to stop. How can you be so violent with life itself? Around them, other human medics worked on the rest of the Kalahari crew. The aliens watched in amazement and horror as humans used machines to force air into lungs, pumped medicines directly into bloodstreams, and even cut open bodies to repair damage inside. Dr. Yang realized she was seeing something incredible. These aliens had medicine, but it was completely different from human medicine. They healed by helping the body do what it wanted to do naturally. Humans healed by forcing the body to do what they wanted it to do. We learned on our world that death comes too easily, Yang explained. We had to fight for every life. Every day was a battle to survive, so we learned to be stubborn about living. In another part of the ship, engineer Jae-sung Kim worked with the Kalahari scientist Lithara to fix the damaged systems. The alien woman watched in shock as Kim bypassed safety systems and jury-rigged repairs with spare parts. "This is impossible," Lithara whispered. "You are connecting systems that were never meant to work together. You are ignoring every safety protocol. This should cause an explosion." Kim grinned as he welded two pieces of metal together with a tool meant for cutting. "Yeah, it's not pretty. But ugly repairs that work are better than pretty repairs that don't exist." Lithara's silver skin turned pale. "But what if something goes wrong? What if the power surge damages other systems? What if someone gets hurt?" "Then, we'll fix those problems too," Kim said simply. "Look, on my world we have a saying. If it's stupid but it works, it's not stupid. Your ship was dying. Now it's alive. That's what matters." The Kalahari watched as Kim and his team worked without fear. They climbed into dangerous spaces, worked with live electrical systems, and used tools in ways that should have been deadly. But somehow, everything they touched began working again. "Your people," Lithara said quietly. "You do not fear death." Kim stopped his work and looked at her. "Oh, we fear death plenty. That's why we fight it so hard. Every human knows that the universe is trying to kill us every second of every day. So we got really good at not dying." Lieutenant Chan Woo-jeon led his Marines through the ship, checking for damage and making sure the area was secure. The Kalahari, crew members they met along the way, stared at the humans in fear and wonder. The Marines wore heavy armor and carried weapons that could cut through metal. They moved through the beautiful garden ship like soldiers in a war zone. To the peaceful Kalahari, they looked like walking nightmares. But Chan Woo noticed something else. The ship had no weapons, no armor, no defensive systems at all. It was completely helpless. "Captain Velnara," he said when he returned to the medical area, "your ship has no way to defend itself. How do you travel through space safely?" Velnara looked confused by the question. "We travel through civilized space. No one attacks peaceful research vessels. It would be unthinkable." "But the Vorthak attacked you," Chan Woo pointed out. "The Vorthak are barbarians from the Outer Rim," Velnara said with disgust. "They are not part of civilized society. Most species would never behave as they do." Chan Woo exchanged glances with Dr. Yang. These aliens lived in a universe where most species were peaceful. The idea of building weapons or armor for protection had never occurred to them. In our experience, Chanwu said carefully, there are always people who will hurt others if they think they can get away with it. So we prepare for them. As the hours passed, the humans and Kelhari shared more stories about their worlds and cultures. The differences were shocking to both species. Captain Dongmin came aboard the alien ship to meet with Captain Velnara. The two captains sat in the ship's garden, surrounded by flowing water and growing plants. "Your world," Velnara said. "Tell me about this Earth. The old stories say it is a world of endless war and death." Dongmin thought about how to explain Earth to someone who had never known violence. "Our world is beautiful, but it's also dangerous. The weather can kill you, the animals can kill you, the ground shakes, and mountains explode. Even the plants and tiny life forms try to kill you sometimes." Velnara's eyes went wide. "How does anyone survive?" "We learn to work together. We learn to fight back against everything that wanted to kill us. We learn to never give up, even when things looked hopeless. But how do you have peace? How do you stop fighting each other?" Dongmin smiled sadly. "We don't always stop. Humans fight each other too. But we learned that some things are worth fighting for, like protecting people who can't protect themselves." Velnara was quiet for a long time. Then she spoke in a whisper. "The prophecies of my people speak of warriors from the violent world. They say these warriors would come when the galaxy faced its greatest danger. They would either save all life or destroy it." "What kind of danger?" Dongmin asked. Velnara's silver skin seemed to lose its glow. "There are stories, rumors from the outer rim, species that do not believe in peace. They gather in the dark places, building fleets and making plans. The Vorthak are just one of many." She looked directly at Dongmin with her amber eyes. "The civilized galaxy has been at peace for so long that we have forgotten how to fight. Our weapons are weak. Our ships are not built for war. Our people do not have the hardness needed for battle." "But you do," she continued. "You come from a world that made you strong. You fight not because you love violence, but because you love life. That is why the prophecies say you will either save us or destroy us. You have the power to do either." Captain Dongmin understood. The Kelhari and their allies were like sheep being hunted by wolves. They needed shepherds with teeth. "If these dangerous species are really gathering for war," he said, "then the peaceful species need to prepare. We can help with that." Velnara shook her head. "Most of my people would never accept help from Deathworld warriors. They fear you more than they fear the enemy. To them, you are monsters from their nightmares." "Then they'll learn," Dongmin said quietly. "When the wolves come, they'll learn that sometimes you need monsters on your side." As the human ships prepared to escort the repaired Kelhari vessel back to civilized space, both species knew that something important had changed. First contact between Earth and the galaxy had been made. The question now was whether the peaceful species would accept help from the violent ones, or whether they would choose to face the coming darkness alone. Dr. Yang packed up her medical equipment, but she left some supplies behind. "These medicines are designed for your biology now," she told the Kelhari medics. "Use them if you have to fight death again." Engineer Kim showed Lithara how to maintain the jury-rigged repairs. "Your people think too much about what might go wrong," he said. "Sometimes you have to try things and see what happens. Lieutenant Chan Wu left some of his weapons with the Kelhari security team. "I hope you never need these," he said. "But if you do, remember, the best defense is a good offense." As the human ships prepared to leave, Captain Velnara sent a message to Captain Dong Min. "Thank you for teaching us that sometimes peace must be fought for. We will remember." The Earth Defense Fleet ships jumped back toward human space, leaving the Kelhari to continue their journey home. But both species knew this was only the beginning. The Deathworld warriors had arrived in the galaxy. The only question was whether they had come as saviors or destroyers. 3 days after the rescue, Captain Dongmin Lee sat in his quarters reading the report that had just arrived from Earth. Admiral Bo Ram Kim had promoted him and given him command of a larger task force. But the news from the Kelhari was more disturbing than any promotion was exciting. Captain Velnara had sent detailed star charts and intelligence reports to Earth through a special communication relay. The information painted a picture that made every human military commander lose sleep. The Vorthak attack had not been random piracy. It was part of something much larger and more dangerous. Admiral In-suk Lim arrived at the meeting point 2 days later with the main Earth Defense Fleet, 37 ships of war, including Earth's newest and most powerful vessels. Admiral Lim was known throughout human space as the Iron Lady. She had never lost a battle, and she had never retreated from a fight. "Captain Lee," she said, as they met in the conference room of her flagship, "brief me on what we've learned." Dong Min activated the holographic display. A 3-dimensional map of the galaxy appeared in the air between them. Red markers showed the locations of hostile forces. There were far too many red markers. "The Kelhari Intelligence Network has identified 12 species working together under something called the hegemony," Dong Min began. "They've been building fleets in secret for over 20 years. Admiral Lim studied the display. "How many ships?" "Conservative estimate? 800 combat vessels, maybe more. They're massing in the Andalon sector, preparing for a coordinated assault on 17 different peaceful civilizations." "Targets?" Dong Min highlighted the potential victims on the map. "Species with advanced technology but no military capability. The Kelhari, the Zephyrians, the Crystal Collective, and 14 others. The hegemony wants to enslave the useful species and exterminate the rest." Admiral Lim was quiet for a long moment, studying the tactical situation. Earth's total fleet numbered only 200 ships. They were outnumbered 4-1 by an enemy that had been preparing for war while humanity was still learning to travel between stars. "What about allies?" she asked. "That's the problem," Dongmin replied. "Most of the peaceful species don't have military forces worth mentioning. Their ships are designed for exploration and research, not combat, and they're terrified of us." "Terrified? Of us?" "Admiral, they call us Deathworld warriors. To them, we're as scary as the hegemony, maybe scarier. Some of their governments would rather surrender to the enemy than accept help from humans." Admiral Lim laughed, but there was no humor in it. "So we're facing an enemy that outnumbers us 4-1, with allies who are afraid to fight alongside us." "Yes, ma'am." "Good," Admiral Lim said. "I was worried this would be too easy." The strategic planning session lasted 18 hours. Admiral Lim, Captain Dong Min, and their staff officers examined every piece of intelligence the Kelhari had provided. They studied hegemony ship designs, battle tactics, and command structure. Tactical analyst Kyunghwa Park made the breakthrough that changed everything. "Admiral," she said, pointing to a section of intercepted hegemony communications, "look at their battle doctrine. Every engagement follows the same pattern. They arrive with overwhelming force, demand surrender, and expect immediate compliance. Standard intimidation tactics, Admiral Lim noted. Yes, but look deeper. They've never fought an enemy that refused to surrender. Every species they've conquered gave up as soon as they saw the size of the hegemony fleet. They've never had to actually fight a real war. Admiral Lim leaned forward. You're saying they're bullies who have never been punched in the mouth? Exactly. Their ships are built for show as much as combat. Their tactics assume the enemy will break and run after the first exchange. They have no experience with enemies who fight back effectively. Captain Dongmin saw where this was leading. We don't fight like civilized species. We don't surrender when outnumbered. We get more dangerous when we're desperate. That's our advantage, Admiral Lim agreed. But it only works if we can get close enough to use it. 800 ships. Is still 800 ships. The answer came from an unexpected source. Captain Velnara arrived with a small Kelhari fleet 3 days later, but these were not research vessels. These were the only military ships the Kelhari had built in 2 centuries, constructed in secret after Velnara's rescue. Admiral Lim, Velnara said through the translator as they met aboard the Earth flagship, my government officially cannot support cooperation with Deathworld warriors. But some of us remember the prophecies. Some of us believe you are here to save the galaxy, not destroy it. What are you offering, Captain? Intelligence, logistics, technology sharing, and 6 ships crewed by Kelhari who want to fight. Admiral, Lim looked at the alien captain with new respect. That's mutiny against your own government. Yes, Velnara said simply. But sometimes mutiny is the right choice. The technology sharing proved crucial. Kelhari shields were far superior to human defensive systems. Kelhari sensors could detect ships at ranges human instruments could not match. Combined with human weapons and human tactics, the hybrid systems created something new. Engineer Jae-sung Kim worked around the clock to integrate alien technology into human ships. It was rough, ugly work that violated every safety protocol both species had ever written. But it worked. The shield generators aren't meant to work with our power systems, Kim reported to Admiral Lim. But if we bypass the safety circuits and run everything at 110% capacity, we can make it work for a few hours. What happens after a few hours? Either we win or the ships explode. Sometimes both. Dr. Sunja Yang worked with Kelhari medical teams to develop treatments for combat injuries. Human medicine was too violent for most alien biology, but with careful adjustments, it could save lives that would otherwise be lost. The Kelhari heal slowly but completely, Yang explained. Humans heal fast, but imperfectly. If we can combine both approaches, we can keep crews fighting even after serious injuries. Lieutenant Chan Woo-jon trained mixed human Kelhari Marine units. The aliens learned human small unit tactics, while the humans learned to work with teammates who thought completely differently about combat. The Kelhari are natural at defensive fighting, John reported. They understand cover and concealment better than any human, but they have trouble with aggressive assault tactics. And the humans? Admiral Lim asked. We're too aggressive. We charge into situations where the Kelhari would find a smarter solution. Together we balance each other out. As the Joint Task Force prepared for battle, more intelligence arrived from Kelhari agents deep in hegemony space. The news was worse than anyone had feared. The hegemony was not just planning to conquer the peaceful species. They intended to exterminate most of them. Only a few would be kept alive as slaves to work in the mines and factories of the hegemony worlds. They call it the Great Cleansing, Velnara reported. They believe the galaxy has too many weak species. They want to eliminate weakness forever. Admiral Lim studied the intelligence reports with cold anger. This was not just conquest. This was genocide on a galactic scale. "How long do we have?" she asked. "The main assault begins in 6 days. The first target is the Crystal Collective home world. They have no defenses and no way to evacuate." Admiral Lim looked at her fleet status reports. 43 human ships, 6 Kelhari vessels, and a handful of volunteers from other species who had quietly joined the cause, against 800 enemy vessels. "Captain Dongmin," she said, "prepare the fleet for immediate departure. We're going to the Andalon sector. Ma'am, that's where the Hegemony fleet is gathering. We'll be jumping directly into the enemy staging area." "I know. We'll be outnumbered 16-1. "I know. It's almost certainly a suicide mission." Admiral Lim smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. "Captain, the enemy is expecting to fight. Civilized species who will surrender when faced with superior numbers. They're not expecting to fight humans." She activated the fleet communication system. Every ship in the task force heard her voice. "All ships, this is Admiral Lim. In 6 days, the Hegemony begins a war of extermination against peaceful species who cannot defend themselves. We are going to stop them." She paused, letting that sink in. "We are outnumbered. We are outgunned. The odds are against us. But we are humans from Earth, the world that taught us never to give up. And we have allies who have chosen to stand with us against the darkness." Another pause. "The enemy thinks this will be easy. They think civilized people will surrender rather than fight. They have never met anyone from a death world. They have never faced people who would rather die fighting than live on their knees." Admiral Lim's voice grew harder. "Today, they learn what happens when you threaten innocent people in front of humans. Today, they learn why every predator in Earth's oceans learned to fear the creatures that came from the land." The fleet jumped to hyperspace, carrying humanity's first major fleet action beyond their home system. They were heading into a battle they could not win, against odds no sane military commander would accept. But they were not sane. They were humans, and humans had a long history of doing impossible things when innocent people needed protecting. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Andalon sector. Admiral Insuk Lim stood on the bridge of her flagship Indomitable, watching the tactical display fill with red enemy contacts. 837 Hegemony. Ships spread across the star system like a dark cloud. The largest vessels were bigger than anything humanity had ever built. Some of them were the size of small moons, bristling with weapons and armor. "Admiral," reported Tactical Officer Kyung-hwa, "Park. Enemy fleet composition includes 43 dreadnoughts, 157 battleships, and over 600 smaller vessels. Total mass tonnage is approximately 15 times our fleet weight." Admiral Lim nodded calmly. "And their formation?" "Defensive wall, ma'am. They're not expecting an attack. Most of their ships are powered down to minimum levels." "Perfect." Admiral Lim activated the fleet communication channel. "All ships, this is Admiral Lim. Execute battle plan. Alpha, remember, speed is life. Hit hard, move fast, never stay in one place long enough to die." Captain Haijin Kwan launched her fighter squadrons from the carrier Inchan's Wrath. 60 small human fighters streaked toward the massive enemy fleet like angry hornets attacking a giant. The Hegemony Supreme Commander, Thexmore, watched the approaching human ships with amusement. The insectoid being was 3 meters tall with 4 arms and compound eyes that could see in multiple spectrums. He had conquered 18 species in his long career. "How many ships?" he asked his tactical officer. 49 total, Supreme Commander. Mostly small vessels. Their largest ship masses less than one of our escort frigates. Thexmore made a sound like clicking mandibles that served as laughter among his species. "Less than 50 ships dare to attack over 800. These mammals must be even more primitive than our intelligence suggested. Should we power up the main fleet, Supreme Commander? No need. Send the 4th attack wing to deal with them. 12 of our battleships should be more than sufficient to destroy these insects." But as the human fighters approached the hegemony fleet, something happened that Thexmore had never seen before. The small fighter craft began moving in patterns that should have been impossible. Human pilot Sang-Ho Yoon pulled his fighter through a spiral dive that created 8 Gs of force, enough to knock most alien pilots unconscious. His fighter screamed, between 2 hegemony battleships firing kinetic rounds at their shield generators. "Fox 1, Fox 2, he called over the radio as his weapons found their targets. "Shields down on the starboard battleship. I'm making another pass." Captain Kwan watched her pilots work with pride. Human fighter pilots could handle acceleration forces that would kill other species. They could fly maneuvers that made enemy gunners dizzy just watching. And they had been trained since childhood on a world where making mistakes meant death. "Admiral," she reported to Lim, "Fighter Wing Alpha has destroyed 6 enemy escort vessels and damaged 3 battleships. No losses." Meanwhile, Commander Wu Jin back-led his destroyer squadron in what any sane military commander would call a suicide run. The 4 destroyers accelerated to maximum speed and charged directly at the center of the enemy formation. "Ramming speed," Beck ordered his crew. "Target the command dreadnought. If we're going to die today, let's make it count." Supreme Commander Thexmore watched in disbelief as the small human ships drove straight toward his flagship like guided missiles. No civilized species fought this way. No rational commander would sacrifice ships in ramming attacks. "Evasive action," he commanded. "All ships, fire on those destroyers." But the human ships moved like living things. They twisted and spun through, the storm of enemy fire, taking hits that should have destroyed them, but somehow continuing to fight. When Destroyer Soul's Thunder lost its main engines, it continued flying on maneuvering thrusters alone. "Hull breach on decks 3 and 4, reported Damage Control Officer Min-Ho Shin. "Fire in the engineering section. Main power at 60%. "Can we still ram?" asked Commander Bayek. "Oh, yes, sir. We can definitely still ram." "Then that's what we'll do." The destroyer hit the hegemony dreadnought at 17% of light speed. The impact vaporized both ships instantly, creating a ball of plasma that lit up the entire star system. Supreme Commander Thexmore transferred his flag to another dreadnought, his compound eyes wide with shock. "What manner of creatures are these? They destroy themselves to damage us!" But the ramming attack was just a distraction. While the enemy focused on the destroyers, Admiral Lim led the main human fleet in a flanking maneuver that brought them within close range of the hegemony command. Ships. Captain Dongmin Lee's cruiser Soul's Fury opened fire with every weapon it had. Human kinetic weapons tore through alien shields like they were made of paper. The hybrid Kelhari human technology performed better than anyone had dared hope. "Target their command vessels," Admiral Lim ordered. "Cut off the head and the body. We'll die." But the hegemony fleet was beginning to react. Hundreds of massive ships powered up their weapons and began returning fire. Space filled with energy beams and missile swarms. The human ships found themselves in the middle of a storm of destruction. Dr. Yoon Young Choi worked frantically in the medical bay of the hospital ship Healing Wind. Wounded crew members from damaged human ships were being evacuated to her vessel. The injuries were terrible, but the humans kept fighting. "Doctor," called medical technician Bo-kyung Lee. "We have a pilot with severe burns over 40% of his body. He's asking when he can return to his fighter." Dr. Choi looked at the pilot's chart. By any medical standard, he should be unconscious from pain and shock. Instead, he was asking to go back into battle. "Tell him his fighter was destroyed," she said. "But if he can walk, we can put him on a gun crew." The pilot smiled through his bandages. "I can walk, Doc." The battle turned into a nightmare of close-range combat. Human ships were fast and deadly, but they were also fragile compared to the massive hegemony vessels. For every enemy ship destroyed, humanity lost half a ship in return. But the humans refused to retreat. Every time a ship was disabled, its crew would transfer to other vessels and continue fighting. When the cruiser Busan's Pride lost main power, her crew rigged the self-destruct system and rammed it into an enemy battleship. Lieutenant Sang-ho Yoon found himself fighting a boarding action aboard a hegemony vessel. His fighter had been shot down, but he and his crew had survived the crash landing in the enemy ship's hangar bay. "Move fast, hit hard," he told his impromptu infantry squad. "These aliens have never fought humans in close combat. Show them why that was a mistake." The hegemony crew members they encountered were individually stronger than humans, but they had never faced an enemy that refused to give up. When wounded humans kept fighting, when dead humans' grenades still exploded, the alien crews began to panic. Supreme Commander Thexmore watched his fleet being torn apart by an enemy that should have been destroyed in the first 5 minutes of battle. Half of his command ships were dead or dying. His fighters had been wiped out by human pilots, who flew like demons. His boarding parties were being slaughtered by human marines who fought like wild animals. "How many of them are left?" he demanded. 17 ships still active, Supreme Commander, but they've destroyed over 200 of ours." "Impossible. Our fleet mass is 15 times theirs." "Yes, Supreme Commander, but mass doesn't matter if the crew refuses to die." The end came when Captain Velnara's ship managed to penetrate the hegemony flagship's shields. The Kelhari captain had learned human tactics well. Instead of the elegant, civilized combat her species preferred, she ordered her crew to ram their ship directly into the enemy command center. "For the peaceful species of the galaxy," she transmitted as her ship accelerated toward its target. "For those who cannot fight for themselves." The explosion that destroyed both ships lit up the entire star system. Supreme Commander Thexmore died, never understanding how 50 ships had defeated 800. Admiral Lim stood in the ruins of her bridge, her uniform torn and bloody, but her eyes still burning with determination. Around her, the hegemony fleet was breaking apart. Some ships tried to retreat, others surrendered. A few continued to fight, but their coordination was broken. "Admiral," reported the surviving tactical officer, "enemy fleet is in full retreat. We hold the field." Admiral Lim looked at her fleet status display. 7 human ships still functional, 42 destroyed or disabled. But the hegemony invasion had been stopped before it could begin. "Send a message to Earth Command," she ordered. "Mission accomplished. The threat has been neutralized." "Ma'am, what about the hegemony survivors?" Admiral Lim's smile was cold as space itself. "Let them run home. Let them tell their people what happens when you threaten innocent beings in front of humans." 6 months later, Ambassador Su-Min Han stood before the Galactic Council, representing Earth at the emergency session called to address the Hegemony War. The council chamber was filled with representatives from dozens of species. Many of them looked at the human ambassador with fear and awe. The stories of the Battle of Andalon had spread throughout the galaxy. The Earth Defense Fleet prevented the destruction of 17 peaceful civilizations. Ambassador Han said simply, "We did what we had to do to protect innocent life. And in doing so," said the Kelhari representative,